Happy day. This bottle each and every year is one I can't wait to try and review. This is the Four Roses limited edition small batch for 2023. Now this year the release celebrates their 16th limited release as well as an important milestone, their 135th anniversary. This is crafted and blended by Brent Elliott's favorite barrels to create something original and outstanding each and every year. How does this year stack up? It's gonna be a good one, stay tuned. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C. for the Master and Drum, and welcome back to the show. Like, subscribe, help grow the channel for 2023. Thank you so much, Whiskey 2 family. So, quick breakdown of how Four Roses crafts their bourbons. For anyone that doesn't know, Four Roses uses 2 different mash bills and 5 different yeast strains to create 10 different bourbon recipes. Now, when you go to a liquor store and you look at the shelf at all the Four Roses bottles, their standard 100 proof single barrel uses 1 recipe. Their standard small batch blend uses 4 of the recipes. Small batch select uses 6 recipes, and their flagship bourbon uses all 10 of them in the same blend. This year's limited edition small batch bourbon blends together 4 batches that include 3 different recipes, with one of the recipes being duplicated across 2 of the chosen batches, and each batch originating from a different aging warehouse. Now the blend starts with a 12-year and 16-year OESV recipe, which is known for its delicate fruit and caramel notes. That bourbon is 75 corn, 20% rye, and 5% malted barley, and uses the distillery's yeast strain known for creating delicate fruit flavors. Next in the blend is a 14-year-old OESK recipe, which is known for its baking spice flavor. That whiskey uses the same mash bill as OESV, but a different yeast that gives it a more spicy kick. And last but certainly not least, the blend includes a 25-year-old OBSV, which is known for its delicate fruit and rare flavors. Now that whiskey has a different mash bill than the other 3, with 60% corn, 35% rye, and 5% barley, but the same yeast strain is used as the 12 and the 16-year-old whiskey uses in the blend. Now in terms of release stats, this is bottled at 108 proof and it retails for about $200. The distillery released about 15,060 hand-numbered bottles, so in terms of limited releases, there's a good amount of them out there. All right, let's do this thing. I can't wait. Here we go. So I cracked this open a few days ago, and I'm glad I did, because even when I first opened it, it was a little bit tight. I couldn't really get a lot out of the nose, but it really has opened up a little bit here. So with those old whiskeys in there, this has a fair amount of oak in it. Actually, I would say more than fair. There's a good amount of sweet oak in here. To me, this is an absolute cinnamon clove. It's a baking spice bomb. I think there's a ton of baking spices in here. Maybe a little nutmeg too here. It's very baking spice forward. However, this is getting to the more of the, again, those aged bourbon notes where you're getting a little bit of the sweet tobacco, maybe a little bit of like that leather type aspect to it. But it's also fruit forward. The one thing these LEs always have is a nice balance of fruit and oak. And this one so far, I think it leans a little bit more towards oak than the fruit forwardness, but I do think there are some fruit flavors there. Again, kind of those raspberry strawberry notes that you're used to with getting some of the Four Roses LEs. Again, it's very rich on the nose, but it takes some time for it to come out, because I just think it's a little bit tight in the beginning. And this one, I still feel like I'm looking for more here in the nose, but let's try it on the palate. Cheers. Oh, the palate is a different story, guys. You get this just burst of spice, oak, and these sweet, you know, kind of like toffee caramel flavors right up front on the front of the palate, and then it turns into a fruit bomb mid-palate. It goes really fruity. I'm talking like raspberry again. I think it's more like a raspberry. I'm not gonna even say cherry. I don't think it's cherry. I think it's more like a raspberry strawberry, like a dark raspberry, dark strawberry type flavor, kind of mingled together. And then as soon as it hits the back palate though, this is where the oak, the leather, the sweet tobacco all take over. That's where I think that the older age bourbon just kind of takes over. Yeah, give me a sip of that. Yeah, this is getting sweeter and sweeter when I go back to it. And I do think that the finish on it, with all that cinnamon, the baking spice, and a little bit like the leather type aspect to it that you get from older bourbons, I do feel like it's a little bit drying on the palate. But man, this is a beautifully balanced bourbon. I mean, every year Brent Elliott does this. And he takes some crazy barrels and just blends them together and makes something unique. Do another sip here. See, now that sip, I got less fruit and more oak. So I think given the components of this bourbon, this is one to sit down, sip slowly, and just kind of try to dissect, because it is, yeah, it's kind of all over the place, but in a good way. I mean, you get a lot of sweet, you get a lot of fruit, you get this oak punch, you get this really delicate spice that just lingers from front to back, just across the entire experience, which I think spice, and you guys let me know in the comments, I think spice, when it's not just alcohol, when it's not just ethanol and like a hot bourbon, you know, super high proof. I mean, again, this is only 108 proof. It's not very high proof-wise. So when you can achieve this amount of spice and nuance on the palate without having to go to, you know, 125, 130 proof, I think that's kind of the real beauty of these. And I feel like that happens each and every year with these Four Roses LEs. Okay, that sip, I got cherry. I got the cherry, I got the raspberry, again, the oak. Maybe this will go a little bit more cherry as it works its way down and some of those older, richer notes come out. But the main notes here I could give you guys is there's immediate spice from front to back. It just lingers. It's very velvety on the palate. It's got a very long finish. The finish is what gives you the ultra aged notes. Again, could be a little bit tad drying for some folks. I don't mind it because there's enough flavor there to balance it out. But all the leather, tobacco, those deep, rich, that cherry note, and also the baking spices, all the cinnamon, the clove, a little bit of the nutmeg, all in the back end. But on the front of the palate, it's all sweet. Front and mid palate is just pure. You get the spice, but it is pure caramel, kind of like vanilla icing, and then it hits the mid palate. That's where you get all those fruit flavors. It's a masterclass in blending. I mean, this thing gives you everything. Now, as far as being 200 bucks and what we're seeing it for on secondary, let's go to the final breakdown. All right, final breakdown on the Four Roses limited edition 2023, the 135th anniversary. Retail price here of about $199, let's say 200 bucks. As far as secondary market value, I've already seen these about 400 to 450. These don't get quite marked up as high as Buffalo Trace Antique Collection does. As far as availability goes, I mean, we're gonna say limited. However, there are 15,000-ish bottles out there. I do think that you're gonna see the markup on this, and this one might garner a little bit more attention because it's a milestone bourbon, and you know, collectors and flippers love nothing more than a good milestone on a bottle. So 135th anniversary might shine a little bit more light on this bottle. However, I still think overall it's gonna be pretty limited. Value for this one, Four Roses, I think always does a great job at pricing these LEs, honestly. When you're talking about 12, a 14, a 16, and a 25-year-old bourbon in the blend, you know, for 200 bucks, I have seen a lot of people pay over $200 for a lot less than what's in this bottle. So I'm gonna say the value here is even. The most I'd pay here, I'll probably just say retail. I do think it's a great value for what you're getting in the bottle with all the high age statements being a Four Roses product. Again, I've seen a lot of people pay a lot more for a lot less of what you're getting, whether it be age, whether it be proof, whether it be a whiskey not nearly as good as this. So maybe the collector in me and the person that just loves Four Roses might be willing to go to $250 for this. But so I'll say the most I pay here is about $250. But I do think the price on this one at $200 is pretty fair. As far as alternatives, man, that one's tough. When you talk about high ages like this in a blend, I think I have two. One will be K-Luke. K-Luke, I think, actually blends their bourbons. Jonathan Maizano over at K-Luke, it's a brand that's come up pretty strong in the last year. I do think that he blends his bourbons to be very similar to a Four Roses experience. The other alternative, I'll go with Bardstown Bourbon Company, the Discovery Series. Now, they have a few options out there that are, you know, all Kentucky, but those are the older batches. However, the new Discovery 11, I would actually put in the same realm as this as a really good alternative. That bottle's 130 bucks. It's all Kentucky whiskey and all Kentucky bourbon. And there are some high ages that I think could be a good alternative to this, but this is a really tough one to, there's just not many blends out there with this high age whiskey in it. And lastly, recommendation, is it a skip? Is it a try before you buy? Is it a buy or is it a buy and back it up? This for me is a buy. I would not overpay for this one. I really like this LE, but I do think there's gonna be some folks that are gonna find some other LEs more favorable than this one. Again, this one is a little bit heavier on the oak, a little bit of a drying finish. Some people just take weird to those ultra aged flavors. You just never know. So if you're like that, if you like to kind of stay in that 8 to 12 year category, this might be more lungs of the try before you buy. However, you cannot just, you know, disregard the balance and there's an artful quality to this blend that's just really good. Now, will it be enough to stand up against some of the other great bourbons I've had this year? Time will tell, but I think as far as just a beautifully balanced bourbon, the flavors you get, this is absolutely fantastic, and easily it's gonna be in my running for a top 5 bottle this year. I absolutely love this, so yeah. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review for the Four Roses 2023 LE. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that subscribe button below. Please hit that like button. If you haven't yet, follow me on Instagram. Let me know down in the comments if you're on the hunt for these. Do you think these are still kind of underrated, less talked about? Do you find, you know, do you look for these each and every year like I do? And as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. So cheers, and I'll talk to you soon right here on the Master and Drum. Cheers, folks.